My name is Beaumont, and I am 58 years old. I spent 35 years of my life climbing electrical poles in the Florida heat, coming home with calloused hands and an aching back, all because I made a promise. A promise to my wife Dorothy that one day we would own a villa by the sea. 3 years ago, cancer took Dorothy from me. But before she passed, we stood together on the balcony of that villa watching the sunset over the Gulf of Mexico. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "We made it, Beau." I put my daughter's name on the deed because I trusted her completely. She was my only child, my little girl. Then one afternoon she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "It is theirs now, Dad. You need to leave." Before I share what happened next, I want to know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If stories about family trust and fighting for what is right speak to you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Now let me tell you how my own daughter tried to take everything I built and what I did about it. I grew up in a small town in Georgia, the kind of place where everybody knew everybody, and front porches were for Sunday conversations. My father was a carpenter who built furniture with his bare hands, and my mother worked at the local laundry pressing shirts for businessmen she would never meet. We did not have much, but we had enough. We had each other. I never got the chance to go to college. By the time I was 17, I was already learning the electrical trade from an old-timer named Hank, who had been working power lines since before I was born. He taught me everything. How to climb a 40-foot pole without looking down. How to strip a wire clean. How to respect the current that could kill you in an instant if you got careless. I listened, I learned, and I worked. By 22, I had a full-time position with the local power company. I started as a helper carrying tools and fetching parts. Over the years, I moved up. Line technician, senior technician, eventually foreman. 35 years I gave to that company. 35 years of waking up before dawn, driving out to job sites in the summer heat, and the winter cold, coming home so tired I could barely eat dinner before falling asleep. My hands told the story. Thick calluses on my palms, scars from old burns, fingers that ached when it rained. But I never complained. Not once. Because every paycheck brought me closer to the dream. I met Dorothy at a church picnic when I was 24 years old. She was working the lemonade stand, wearing a yellow dress that matched the summer sun. I remember walking up to get a drink and forgetting every word I knew. She laughed at me standing there with my mouth open like a fool. "Cat got your tongue?" she asked. I managed to mumble something about the weather, and she laughed again. That laugh hooked me right then and there. Dorothy was a nurse at the county hospital. She worked long shifts, cared for sick people, and never lost her gentleness. We dated for 2 years before I got up the nerve to propose. I did not have much money for a ring, but I saved up 3 months' pay and bought her a small diamond that she wore every single day until the day she died. Our wedding was simple, just family and a few friends at the church where we met. Dorothy's mother cried the whole time. My father shook my hand and told me I had done good. That night, we moved into a tiny apartment on the edge of town. The bathroom leaked, the windows rattled when it was windy, and the neighbors played loud music on weekends. But we were happy. The early years were hard. Dorothy kept working even when she got pregnant because we needed the money. I picked up overtime whenever I could. We counted every dollar, skipped meals, sometimes drove an old car that broke down more than it ran. But we had a plan. We were saving for a house, for a future, for the family we wanted to build. Meredith came into the world on a spring morning when I was 28 years old. I was in the delivery room holding Dorothy's hand, and when I heard that first cry, something shifted inside me forever. They placed this tiny, wrinkled baby in my arms, and I made a silent promise. I would give her everything I never had. I would work until my bones gave out to make sure she had a good life. Those early years with Meredith were some of the happiest of my life. I would come home from work, pick her up, and spin her around the living room while she giggled. I taught her to ride a bicycle in the parking lot behind our apartment. Every night, Dorothy and I would take turns reading bedtime stories. Meredith always wanted one more, just one more, and I could never say no to those big brown eyes. Dorothy and I talked often about the future. We dreamed of owning a real home, something with a yard and enough space for Meredith to run around. But more than that, Dorothy had a deeper dream. Ever since she was a little girl, she had wanted to live by the ocean. She had grown up inland, never seeing the sea until she was a teenager, and when she finally did, it changed her. She told me once that the sound of waves made her feel like everything was going to be okay. Someday, I promised her, when we retire, I am going to buy you a house on the beach. She smiled and squeezed my hand. I will hold you to that, Beaumont. We started saving. Just a little at first. $20 a month, then $50, then $100, as my wages increased over the years. We opened a separate account just for the beach house. Dorothy called it our dream fund. Every time we made a deposit, she would smile that same smile from the lemonade stand. 25 years we saved. 25 years of sacrifice and discipline and saying no to things we wanted so we could say yes to the thing we wanted most. I remember the day we first saw the villa in Destin, Florida. We had been looking at properties for months, driving up and down the coast, touring houses that were either too expensive or too run down. But this one was different. 4 bedrooms, a wide balcony facing the Gulf of Mexico, a small garden out back where hibiscus flowers bloomed in bright pink and orange. The moment Dorothy stepped inside, I knew this was it. The price was $480,000. We paid cash. Every single cent came from our savings account, from 35 years of hard work and careful planning. No mortgage, no loans, no debt. When I signed the papers and they handed me the keys, Dorothy started crying right there in the real estate office. She threw her arms around me and said, "We made it, Beau. We really made it." For 2 years, we lived in that villa together. Those were the best 2 years of my life. Every morning, we drank coffee on the balcony and watched the pelicans dive for fish. Every evening, we sat in lawn chairs and watched the sun sink into the water. Dorothy planted her hibiscus garden. I built a little wooden bench so we could sit out there and enjoy it together. We were finally living the dream we had worked so long to achieve. Then one day, Dorothy mentioned something I had not thought about. "We should put Meredith on the deed," she said. "That way, if something happens to us, there will not be any legal complications. No inheritance tax eating up what we built." I hesitated. Not because I did not trust Meredith, but because the villa meant so much to us. It was our legacy, our proof that hard work pays off. "She is our only child," Dorothy said gently. "Everything we have will be hers anyway. This just makes it simpler." So I agreed. We added Meredith as a co-owner on the deed. She was 27 at the time, recently married to a man named Derek. They seemed happy. I had no reason to doubt anything. I signed those papers without a second thought. I trusted my daughter with my life. How could I have known that trust would cost me everything? It started 4 years before the day Meredith told me to leave. Dorothy began feeling tired all the time. At first we thought it was just age catching up with her. She was 53, still active, still working part-time at a local clinic. But the fatigue did not go away. Then came the weight loss. Then the stomach pain that would not quit no matter what she ate or did not eat. I begged her to see a doctor. Dorothy kept putting it off, saying it was nothing, saying she was fine. Nurses always made the worst patients, she joked. But I could see the worry in her eyes. Finally, after weeks of my pleading, she agreed to get checked. The diagnosis came back like a punch to the gut. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. The doctor spoke in careful words, trying to soften the blow, but I heard what he was really saying. My wife was dying. I still remember sitting in that sterile office holding Dorothy's hand, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. Dorothy stayed calm, calmer than me anyway. She asked questions about treatment options, about timelines, about what to expect. I just sat there numb, trying to understand how the woman I had loved for 30 years could be taken from me. The months that followed were the hardest of my life. Dorothy started chemotherapy. I drove her to every appointment, sat with her, while the poison dripped into her veins, held her hair back when she got sick afterward. I learned to cook the soft foods she could keep down. I stayed up nights when she could not sleep, reading to her, or just sitting in silence, letting her know I was there. Meredith barely came around during this time. When I called her, she always had excuses. Work was busy. Derek needed her help with something. His parents were visiting from Atlanta. Every excuse felt like a door closing. She has her own life now, Dorothy would say when I complained. We cannot expect her to drop everything. But I did expect it. Your mother is dying. That should mean something. That should mean everything. The last months were the worst. Dorothy grew weaker and weaker. She could not get out of bed some days. I hired a home nurse to help, but mostly it was me. Feeding her, bathing her, changing the sheets when she could not make it to the bathroom in time. She hated being helpless. Dorothy had always been the strong one, the one who took care of others. Now she needed me to take care of her, and I did it without complaint, because that is what you do when you love someone. One night near the end, Dorothy held my hand and looked at me with those tired eyes. "Take care of yourself, Bo," she whispered. "Promise me, and take care of our girl. She loves you even if she does not always show it." I promised. I promised her everything she asked. Dorothy passed away at 4 a.m. on a cool October night. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. The house went silent. The world went silent. I sat there for a long time, just holding her, not wanting to let go. When the sun came up, I finally called the funeral home. The funeral was held at the church we had attended for years. Meredith showed up late. I saw her slip in through the side door while the minister was already speaking. She wore black, but she kept checking her phone throughout the service. Derek stood in the corner talking on his own phone, not even pretending to pay attention. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream at them for disrespecting Dorothy like that. But I was too tired, too broken. I told myself they were grieving in their own way. People handle loss differently. That is what I told myself. After the funeral, Meredith approached me. She hugged me stiffly and said, "Dad, you should come stay with us for a while. You should not be alone in that big villa." I thanked her, but said no. The villa was where Dorothy and I had lived our dream. Her presence was everywhere. The coffee mug she always used, the spot on the couch where she liked to read, the hibiscus garden she planted with her own hands. I could not leave. Not yet. In the weeks after Dorothy died, Meredith called me regularly. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks. She asked how I was doing, if I needed anything. I appreciated the calls, even if they were brief. It felt like she still cared, but slowly the calls grew further apart. Once a month, then every other month. When she did call, she always sounded rushed, distracted. I am busy, Dad. Derek's parents need help with something. I will call you later. Later never came. I learned bits and pieces about Derek's family over time. His parents, Harrison and Gloria, owned a chain of furniture stores in Atlanta. They came from money, or at least they acted like it. I had met them only once at Derek and Meredith's wedding. Gloria had looked me up and down like she was inspecting livestock, then turned away without saying hello. Harrison shook my hand with a grip that was too firm, like he was trying to prove something. I did not think much of them then. I was focused on my daughter's happiness, not her in-law's manners. But a year after Dorothy passed, something strange happened. Meredith came to visit the villa unannounced. She walked through every room, taking photographs, measuring spaces with a tape she pulled from her purse. I watched her from the hallway, confused. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Just checking on things, Dad," she said with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Making sure everything is okay." That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about the way she had moved through the house, clinical and calculating. Around 2 a.m, I got up to get water and heard her voice through the guest room door. She was on the phone with Derek. "The location is perfect," she said. "Mom was right about one thing at least." I stood in the dark hallway, my heart pounding, trying to understand what I had just heard. But I pushed the worry away. She is my daughter. She would never do anything to hurt me. I was wrong. 2 years after Dorothy passed, I received a phone call from Derek. His voice was friendly, almost too friendly. He said he wanted to bring his parents down for a visit. They needed a getaway, he explained. The stress of running the business was getting to them. I hesitated. I barely knew Harrison and Gloria, and what little I knew I did not like. But Derek was my son-in-law, and Meredith had asked him to call. Against my better judgment, I agreed. They arrived on a Thursday afternoon. A black SUV pulled into my driveway, and Harrison stepped out first, surveying my property like a general inspecting conquered territory. Gloria followed, wearing sunglasses that covered half her face and a silk blouse that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. "Quaint," Gloria said, looking at the villa. It was not a compliment. I had spent the morning cleaning, preparing the guest rooms, cooking a meal. I wanted to be a good host, even if I did not particularly want them there. Southern hospitality was ingrained in me from childhood. You treat guests well no matter how you feel about them. But that first afternoon set the tone for everything that followed. Harrison walked through my house with his hands clasped behind his back, examining everything. "What year was this built?" he asked. "The electrical wiring looks outdated. Have you had it inspected recently?" "I am an electrician," I said. "Was anyway. I know the wiring is fine." He made a face like he did not believe me and moved on. Gloria was worse. She opened my refrigerator without asking, clucked her tongue at the contents, and announced she would need to go shopping because there was nothing she could eat. She criticized the bathroom tiles, the color of the walls, even the curtains Dorothy had picked out. "These are so outdated," she said, fingering the fabric. "You should really modernize." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. That evening, I cooked dinner for everyone. Grilled lobster tails with butter and garlic, a recipe Dorothy had taught me. It was her favorite, and I made it to honor her memory. I set the table with her good china-lit candles, tried to create a warm atmosphere despite my reservations about my guests. Gloria took one bite and pushed her plate away. "I prefer my seafood prepared differently," she said. "This is too heavy." Harrison did not even comment on the food. Instead, he started asking questions about the villa. How much had I paid for it? What were the property taxes? What was the annual maintenance cost? He pulled out his phone and started typing notes. Derek sat beside him, nodding along, adding numbers into his own phone. Meredith sat at the end of the table, silent, staring at her plate. She did not defend me. She did not tell her in-laws to stop being rude. She just sat there like a stranger. "Why all these questions about the house?" I finally asked. Derek laughed. "Just curious, that is all. You know how business people are. We like to know the value of things." I did not sleep well that night. The next morning, Meredith pulled me aside. We stood on the balcony where Dorothy and I used to watch sunsets, but there was nothing romantic about this conversation. "Dad," she said, "Derek's parents are having some financial trouble. Their business is not doing well. The furniture stores are struggling." I waited, sensing where this was going. They need a place to stay while they figure things out. Somewhere quiet away from the stress in Atlanta. She paused, watching my face. I was thinking maybe they could stay here for a few months. My stomach dropped. "Here in my home." "Our home," she corrected. "I am on the deed too, remember?" Those words hit me like a slap. Our home. She had never called it that before. It had always been my home or my parents' home, never ours. "Where would I go?" I asked. "You could stay in the guest room. It is only temporary, just until they get back on their feet." I shook my head. "No, Meredith, this is my home. Your mother and I built this together. I am not going to be pushed into a corner so strangers can take over my bedroom." Her face hardened. "They are not strangers. They are my family." "I am your family," I said, my voice rising. "I am your father." She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked away without another word. They left the next day. Harrison barely nodded goodbye. Gloria did not even look at me. Derek shook my hand and said, "We will talk again soon." It sounded like a threat. Over the following weeks, the pressure intensified. Derek called me multiple times, talking about family duty and helping each other in times of need. He made it sound like I was being selfish for not wanting to give up my home to people I barely knew. Meredith sent long text messages. In one she wrote, "You are being difficult, Dad. All we are asking is a little help. I thought you loved me." I did love her. That was the problem. I loved her so much that her words cut deeper than any knife. Then Gloria called me directly. Her voice was cold, controlled. "My son chose your daughter," she said. "The least you can do is support our family during this difficult time." I hung up on her. One afternoon, I received a letter from my home insurance company. It was a routine notification, but something caught my eye. The beneficiary listed on the policy had been changed from my name to Meredith's name. I had not authorized this change. I had not even known about it. I called the insurance company and demanded an explanation. The representative told me the change had been made 3 months earlier with proper documentation and signature. "I did not sign anything," I said. "I am sorry, sir. According to our records, the change was authorized by a co-owner of the property." Meredith. She had changed my insurance without telling me. I started checking other documents. The utility accounts for the villa now listed Meredith as a primary contact. She had added herself 6 months ago. I had received no notification, no call, nothing. I confronted her over the phone. "What are you doing, Meredith? Why are you changing all these accounts without telling me?" She did not even sound embarrassed. "You are getting older, Dad. Someone needs to manage these things." "I am 58 years old," I snapped. "Not 80. I can manage my own affairs." There was a pause. Then she said, "We will talk about this later," and hung up. I sat in my kitchen staring at the phone, feeling like a stranger in my own life. Everything I had built, everything Dorothy and I had worked for was slipping through my fingers. And my own daughter was the one pulling it away. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I remember because I had just finished my second cup of coffee and was planning to work in the garden. The hibiscus bushes needed trimming, and I had been putting it off for weeks. I heard vehicles pulling up outside. Multiple vehicles. I went to the window and saw a moving truck parked in my driveway, followed by that same black SUV I remembered from Harrison and Gloria's visit. Gloria stepped out first, pointing and directing like a general commanding troops. Behind her came movers starting to unload furniture boxes, household items. Harrison emerged from the SUV talking loudly on his phone. I rushed outside. "What is going on here?" Derek appeared beside me, seemingly out of nowhere. He put a hand on my shoulder, a gesture that felt more restraining than comforting. "We discussed this, remember," he said. "My parents will be staying here for a while. Meredith said you would come around." "I never agreed to this," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "This is my home. You cannot just move in without my permission." Derek shrugged. "Meredith is a co-owner. She gave permission." I watched helpless as strangers carried boxes into my house. Gloria directed them toward the master bedroom, the bedroom I had shared with Dorothy for 2 years, the room where she had taken her last breath. "Wait!" I shouted. "Not that room. That is my room." Gloria turned to me with a look of mild annoyance, like I was an insect buzzing around her head. "We need the master suite. The other rooms are too small for our furniture." "I do not care about your furniture. That is my bedroom. My wife died in that room." For a moment I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Discomfort, maybe, or perhaps just impatience. "That is unfortunate," she said. "But we all need to move on eventually." Meredith arrived an hour later after the movers had already taken over. I confronted her in the hallway, blocking her path. "How could you do this?" I demanded. "How could you let them take over our home without even asking me?" She looked at me with an expression I did not recognize. Cold, distant, like I was a problem to be solved, not a father to be respected. "It is for the best, Dad," she said. "They need a place to stay. You have plenty of room. This was your mother's dream. This house. This view. She worked her whole life for this." "Mom is gone," Meredith said flatly. "Things are different now." She walked past me and joined her in-laws in the living room, leaving me standing alone in the hallway of my own home. Over the following days, the invasion became complete. Gloria and Harrison took over the master bedroom. Dorothy's belongings, her clothes, her jewelry, the little keepsakes she had collected over a lifetime were packed into boxes and shoved into the garage. I found her favorite dress crumpled at the bottom of a cardboard box, treated like garbage. When I protested, Gloria waved her hand dismissively. "Not these old things were just taking up space. We need room for our belongings." I tried to rescue what I could. I hid Dorothy's wedding ring in my pocket. I saved a few photographs. But so much was lost. Thrown away or forgotten like it meant nothing. They gave me the smallest bedroom in the house, a cramped space at the back that was meant for storage. I had to share the bathroom with whoever happened to be visiting. Gloria criticized me if I spent too long in the shower. Harrison complained if I used the kitchen while he was trying to eat. I had become a guest in my own home. No, less than a guest. An intruder barely tolerated. The hibiscus garden was the final blow. One morning I woke up to the sound of workers in the backyard. When I looked outside, I saw them ripping out Dorothy's plants. The hibiscus bushes she had planted with her own hands, tended with such care, were being pulled from the ground and thrown into a pile like weeds. "Stop!" I shouted, running outside. "What are you doing?" "Stop." Gloria appeared on the patio, a cup of coffee in her hand. "We are redesigning the landscape. These bushes are unsightly." "My wife planted those," I said, my voice breaking. "Those were her flowers. They were overgrown. The new design will be much more elegant." I stood there watching the last traces of Dorothy being torn away, and I felt something inside me die. Derek and Meredith came by every weekend, but not to see me. They spent their time with Harrison and Gloria discussing plans I was not invited to hear. Sometimes I would walk past the living room and catch fragments of conversation. Numbers, timelines, legal terms I did not understand. I tried to reclaim some sense of normalcy. I suggested we all have dinner together like a family. The response was laughter from Harrison and a pitying look from Gloria. "That is sweet," she said, "but we have plans." I ate alone in my little room, listening to them laughing and talking in the dining room, eating at the table where Dorothy and I used to share our meals. One evening, I could not take it anymore. I called a lawyer, an old contact from my union days, and asked about my rights as a co-owner of the property. The lawyer's voice was sympathetic but grim. "If your daughter is on the deed with you, she has equal legal rights to the property. You cannot force her or anyone she authorizes to leave." "But I paid for everything," I said. "Every single cent came from my savings." "I understand. But the deed says otherwise. As far as the law is concerned, she is a co-owner." I hung up and sat in the darkness for a long time, trying to understand how I had let this happen. I had trusted my daughter. I had given her everything. And now she was using that trust to take everything from me. 2 weeks later, I decided to confront Meredith directly. I asked her to meet me at a coffee shop near the villa neutral ground. She agreed, though she showed up 20 minutes late and spent the first 5 minutes answering messages on her phone. "Meredith," I said, "I need to understand. Why are you doing this to me?" She looked up from her phone with an expression of mild annoyance. "Doing what? Helping my husband's family? They are my family now, Dad? What about me? I am your father. I raised you. I worked my whole life to give you everything." She leaned back in her chair. "And I appreciate that. But you have lived your life. It is time for you to step aside and let the next generation take over." "Take over what? My home, my life." She stood up, gathering her purse. "I do not have time for this drama. You need to accept the situation." "Meredith, please," I said, reaching for her hand. She pulled away. "The villa is theirs now, Dad." She looked me straight in the eyes. "It is theirs now. You need to accept that." She walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. 1 week later, I came home from a walk to find the locks had been changed. My key would not open the door I had unlocked thousands of times before. I knocked. Gloria answered, looking at me like I was a stranger soliciting for charity. "You do not live here anymore," she said. "Meredith arranged for you to stay somewhere else." She handed me a small duffel bag containing a few changes of clothes and a key card for a motel on the outskirts of town. A cheap place by the highway, the kind with broken ice machines and stained carpets. I stood on the porch of the home I had built, the home where my wife had taken her last breath, the home I had paid for with 35 years of labor, and I was being dismissed like a servant whose services were no longer required. "Please," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "This is my home." Gloria closed the door in my face. I walked to my car, carrying everything I had left in the world in a duffel bag. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror at the villa growing smaller and smaller. I did not cry. I was too empty for tears. The motel was everything I expected and worse. A single room that smelled of mildew and cigarettes despite the no smoking sign on the door. A bed that sagged in the middle. A television bolted to the wall that only received 4 channels. The highway ran right past the parking lot, and trucks rumbled by all night, shaking the thin walls. I lay on that sunken mattress and stared at the water-stained ceiling, trying to understand how my life had come to this. 35 years of honest work, a lifetime of sacrifice and planning, a daughter I had loved more than my own life. And now I was alone in a $10 a night room, discarded like yesterday's newspaper. I did not eat that first day, or the second. I barely drank water. What was the point? Everything I had worked for was gone. Dorothy was gone. My home was gone. My daughter had become a stranger who looked at me with contempt. On the 3rd day, my phone rang. I almost did not answer it, but something made me pick it up. "Bo, is that you?" The voice was familiar, a relic from another lifetime. Walter. We had worked together at the power company for over 20 years. He had retired the same year I did. We used to grab beers after work on Fridays, complaining about our supervisors and dreaming about the future. "Walter," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Hollow. "I have been trying to reach you for days. What is going on? Someone told me you are not at the villa anymore." I laughed bitterly. "Not anymore. My daughter saw to that." There was silence on the line. Then Walter said, "Tell me everything." So I did. I told him about Meredith putting her name on the deed, about Derek and his parents moving in, about being banished to a tiny room, then thrown out entirely, about standing on the porch of my own home while Gloria closed the door in my face. When I finished, Walter was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That is criminal, Bo. You cannot let them do this to you." "What choice do I have? The lawyers say she has equal rights to the property." "Then you find better lawyers. You find someone who knows how to fight. But first you get out of that motel. Eleanor and I have a guest room in Panama City. You are coming to stay with us." I tried to refuse. Pride, I suppose, or shame. I did not want my old friend to see how far I had fallen, but Walter would not take no for an answer. "We have known each other for 30 years, Bo. Let me help." 2 days later, I drove the 3 hours to Panama City with my duffel bag and the few possessions I had managed to save. Walter and Eleanor met me at the door with hugs and genuine warmth. Eleanor had made pot roast for dinner, the first real meal I had eaten in weeks. We sat at their kitchen table, and for the first time since the nightmare began, I felt like a human being again. "You are not done yet, Bo," Walter said that night after Eleanor had gone to bed. We were sitting on his back porch looking at the stars. "You still have fight in you. I can see it." "I do not feel like fighting," I admitted. "I feel like giving up." That is the grief talking. That is the shock. But underneath all that, you are still the same man who climbed 40-foot poles in the Florida heat. You are still the man who built a dream from nothing. And you are not going to let some spoiled in-laws take that away from you. I looked at my old friend, at his weathered face and determined eyes, and I felt something stir inside me. A small flame where I thought only ashes remained. "You are right," I said slowly. "I cannot let them win." "No, you cannot. And tomorrow, we are going to figure out how to fight back." Walter knew people. That was one of the benefits of working in the same community for decades. You build connections. You learn who to trust. The next day, he made some calls and got me an appointment with a lawyer named Constance Williams. She specialized in real estate disputes and family property conflicts. Walter said she had a reputation for being tough and thorough. Her office was in a small building downtown, nothing fancy but clean and professional. Constance herself was a woman in her 60s, with gray hair pulled back in a severe bun and sharp eyes that seemed to see right through me. I told her my story, laying out every detail I could remember. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and calculation. "The co-ownership complicates things," she said. "But it does not make your situation hopeless." "What do you mean?" "Your daughter may be on the deed, but that does not mean she can do whatever she wants. A co-owner cannot unilaterally make major decisions about a property without the consent of the other co-owners. Changing the locks and evicting you, for instance, could constitute illegal lockout, which is a violation of your rights." I felt a spark of hope. So they broke the law by kicking me out. Potentially. We would need to document everything, but yes, there may be grounds for legal action. She flipped through her notes. "You said you paid for the entire property yourself. Do you have records, bank statements, receipts, the original purchase agreement?" "I have some things in storage," I said. "Boxes I kept from when Dorothy and I bought the place." "Get them. Every piece of paper you can find. The more documentation we have, the stronger our case." Over the following weeks, I threw myself into the task. I retrieved boxes from the storage unit, where I had kept old financial records. I contacted my bank and requested statements going back 25 years. I found the original purchase contract for the villa, which clearly showed that Beaumont and Dorothy had paid the full amount with no contribution from Meredith. When I brought everything to Constance, she spent 3 days reviewing the documents. Then she called me into her office with news. "I found something interesting," she said. "3 months ago, your daughter and her husband took out a mortgage on the villa. They borrowed $200,000 using the property as collateral." I stared at her. "They what?" "A mortgage. A loan against the property. The signature on the documents appears to be Meredith's. There is no co-signature from you, which is a problem, because both co-owners typically need to approve such a transaction." My mind was spinning. They had not just taken over my home, they had used it as leverage to borrow money. Money that I would be responsible for if anything went wrong. "Where did the money go?" I asked. "That I do not know yet. But I have some guesses. You mentioned Derek's family has a failing business. It would not surprise me if this loan was taken out to prop up their furniture stores." I sat back in my chair, stunned. My daughter had not only betrayed me, she had endangered the home Dorothy and I had built, risking everything we worked for to save a business that was not even hers. "Can we stop this?" I asked. "Can we undo what they did?" Constance smiled grimly. "We can certainly try. What they did may constitute fraud. Taking out a loan on jointly owned property without the consent of all owners is illegal. Add that to the improper eviction, and we have multiple grounds for a lawsuit." "Then let us do it," I said. My voice was steady now, my resolve hardened. "I want my home back, and I want them to face the consequences of what they did." Constance nodded. "Then we fight." The lawsuit was filed on a Wednesday. Constance prepared a comprehensive complaint alleging multiple violations: fraud, improper eviction, unauthorized mortgage, violation of co-ownership rights. The document was 23 pages long and reading through it made me realize just how much damage Meredith and her in-laws had done. I was sitting in Walter's living room when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Meredith's name. For a moment, I considered not answering, but something made me pick up. "Dad." Her voice was different now, shaky, uncertain. Gone was the cold confidence I had heard at the coffee shop. "Dad, what are you doing?" "I am exercising my legal rights," I said calmly. Something I should have done a long time ago. "This is family. We can work this out. You do not need lawyers and courts. You stopped treating me like family the day you threw me out of my own home." "I did not throw you out. That was Gloria. I did not know she was going to change the locks." "You knew exactly what was happening, Meredith. You were part of it every step of the way." There was silence on the line. I could hear her breathing, could almost see her searching for the right words to manipulate me. "Please, Dad. Derek is worried. His parents are worried. This lawsuit could ruin everything." "Good," I said. "Maybe they should have thought about that before they stole my home. It is not stealing. I am on the deed. I have rights. You have rights to the property. You do not have rights to commit fraud. You do not have rights to take out loans without my consent. You do not have rights to evict me from my own bedroom." More silence. Then softly, "I am sorry, Dad. I never meant for things to go this far." I closed my eyes, remembering the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders, the teenager I taught to drive the young woman whose wedding I paid for. My heart ached with all the love I still felt, despite everything. "Sorry does not undo what you did," I said. "You will receive a copy of the lawsuit by mail. If you want to apologize, do it in court. Dad, please. Goodbye, Meredith." I hung up the phone and sat in the quiet for a long time, letting the emotions wash over me. Anger, grief, a strange sense of relief that the battle had finally begun. The court date was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, Constance gathered more evidence. She subpoenaed bank records showing exactly where the $200,000 from the mortgage had gone. As we suspected, it had been funneled directly into Harrison's furniture business, which was drowning in debt. Derek and Meredith had essentially gambled my home to save his parents' company. She also obtained security camera footage from a neighbor's house showing the day the movers arrived. In the video, you could clearly see Gloria directing workers into the villa while I stood helplessly on the driveway. It was documented proof of the hostile takeover. On the day of the hearing, I put on the best suit. I owned the one I had worn to Dorothy's funeral and drove to the courthouse. Walter came with me for moral support. As we walked up the steps, I saw Meredith standing near the entrance with Derek and his parents. They all looked nervous. Harrison kept checking his phone. Gloria's usual arrogance was replaced by tight-lipped anxiety. Meredith saw me and took a step forward, as if to say something, but I walked past her without a word. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just the judge, the lawyers, and the people involved. Constance had prepared me for what to expect, but nothing could fully prepare me for the experience of standing before a judge and telling the story of my daughter's betrayal. I testified for over an hour. I told the court about buying the villa with Dorothy, about putting Meredith's name on the deed out of trust, about the gradual takeover by Derek's family. I described being forced into a small room, watching Dorothy's belongings thrown into boxes, seeing her garden destroyed. I explained how I came home one day to find the locks changed and a duffel bag waiting for me on the porch. When I finished, I looked at Meredith. She was crying. Derek sat beside her with his head in his hands. Harrison stared at the floor. Only Gloria met my eyes, and even her gaze was no longer defiant, but desperate. Constance presented the evidence methodically. Bank records, security footage, the mortgage documents with Meredith's signature, and no co-signature from me. Expert testimony about the illegality of taking out a loan on co-owned property without unanimous consent. The defense attorney tried to argue that Meredith had acted in good faith, believing she had authority to make decisions about the property. It was a weak argument, and even the judge seemed unconvinced. After 3 hours of testimony and deliberation, the judge was ready to announce her ruling. "This case presents a troubling pattern of behavior," she began. "The respondents took advantage of a family relationship to gain control over a property they had no right to control unilaterally. The unauthorized mortgage is particularly egregious. Co-owned property cannot be leveraged without the consent of all owners. This is a fundamental principle of property law." She looked directly at Meredith and Derek. "Your actions have caused significant financial and emotional harm to the petitioner. The court finds in favor of Mr. Beaumont on all counts." My heart was pounding. I gripped the edge of the table. "The mortgage taken out on the property is hereby nullified. The respondents are ordered to vacate the premises within 30 days. Mr. Beaumont is to be restored as the sole decision-maker for the property with full authority over all matters related to its management and use. Additionally, the respondents are ordered to pay the petitioner's legal fees and compensatory damages in the amount of $75,000. I sat there barely breathing as the words sank in. I had won. After everything they had taken from me, I had won. Outside the courthouse, Meredith approached me one last time. Her face was tear-streaked, her composure shattered. "Dad, I am sorry," she said. "I truly am. I made terrible mistakes. Derek's family pressured me, and I was weak. I never stopped loving you." I looked at my daughter, at the woman she had become, and I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Love was still there, buried under layers of hurt and betrayal, but trust was gone, perhaps forever. "I forgive you, Meredith," I said quietly, "but I will never forget what you did. And I do not think I can trust you again. Not for a very long time." She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "I hope you find peace," I said. "I hope you learn from this, but we cannot go back to the way things were. Too much has happened." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone on the courthouse steps. 30 days later, the Harrison family was gone. I walked into the villa for the first time in months and found it changed. Different furniture, different colors on the walls, different everything. But the bones were still there. The walls Dorothy and I had painted together. The view of the Gulf that had made us fall in love with this place. The foundation of the dream we had built. I stood on the balcony looking out at the water, feeling the salt breeze on my face. Somewhere out there under those waves, Dorothy was watching. I hoped she was proud. "I got our home back, Dot," I whispered. "I got it back." The first weeks alone in the villa were strange. The house was too quiet, too big, filled with memories both old and new. I would walk through the rooms and remember how they used to be, how Dorothy had arranged the furniture, how the hibiscus garden used to bloom outside the kitchen window. The garden was gone, torn out by Gloria's renovators. That hurt more than I expected. It felt like losing Dorothy all over again. But slowly I began to rebuild. I repainted the walls, returning them to colors Dorothy would have loved. I bought new furniture, piece by piece, creating a space that felt like home again. And one spring morning, I went to a nursery and bought a dozen hibiscus plants. I planted them myself, my hands deep in the soil, remembering how Dorothy used to talk to her flowers like they were old friends. Walter and Eleanor visited often. We would sit on the balcony with glasses of iced tea, watching the sunset and talking about everything and nothing. Their friendship was a lifeline during those dark months. I do not know if I would have survived without them. I started to go out again. I joined a fishing group that met at the marina on Saturday mornings. Old men like me, mostly retirees with stories to tell and time to tell them. We would take boats out into the Gulf and spend hours catching nothing, laughing at each other's jokes, and sharing the quiet companionship that comes from decades of lived experience. One of the men, a retired school teacher named Raymond, suggested I get involved with a local youth program. They needed volunteers to teach practical skills to teenagers from disadvantaged backgrounds. "You were an electrician, right?" he said. "These kids could use someone like you." I hesitated at first. What did I have to offer? But I showed up anyway, and something unexpected happened. Teaching those young people, watching their eyes light up when they understood how a circuit worked or successfully wired a lamp, gave me a sense of purpose I had not felt in years. I also made a practical decision about the villa. The house was too big for one person. 4 bedrooms for a man who slept in only one. So I converted 2 of the spare rooms into a small vacation rental. Tourists came through, families on beach vacations, couples celebrating anniversaries. The extra income was nice, but more than that, the presence of other people in the house made it feel alive again. As for Meredith, I heard bits and pieces through mutual acquaintances. She and Derek divorced about a year after the court case. Harrison's furniture business went bankrupt. Gloria and Harrison moved to a smaller house somewhere in the suburbs of Atlanta. Their grand lifestyle was over. Meredith tried to reach out several times. She sent letters, long handwritten pages, apologizing and explaining and asking for forgiveness. I read them, every single one. And each time I put them away in a drawer without responding. I do not hate my daughter. Hate takes too much energy, too much space in the heart. But I have not forgotten what she did. Some wounds heal with time. Others leave scars that ache when the weather changes. What I have learned from all of this is difficult to put into simple words, but I will try. I learned that love without boundaries is not love. It is surrender. When I put Meredith on that deed without protecting myself, I was not being generous. I was being naive. I trusted completely without considering the possibility of betrayal. That was my mistake. You can love someone with all your heart and still set limits. Still protect yourself. Still say no. I learned that possessions are not what matter most, but they do matter. The villa was not just a building. It was the physical manifestation of decades of work, sacrifice, and hope. It was the place where Dorothy took her last breath, where we watched our final sunset together. Fighting for it was not about greed. It was about honoring everything we had built. I learned that forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. I have forgiven Meredith in my heart. I have released the anger that was eating me alive. But that does not mean I have to invite her back into my life. Some relationships can be repaired. Others are too damaged to rebuild. Knowing the difference is wisdom, and I learned that it is never too late to start again. At 58, I thought my life was winding down. I thought the best years were behind me. But here I am, teaching young people, making new friends, planting new gardens. Life goes on. It always does. Some evenings I sit on the balcony and watch the sun sink into the Gulf, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that no artist could capture. I think about Dorothy, about the life we shared, about the dreams we built together. I miss her every single day. But I also think about the future, about the hibiscus that will bloom next spring, about the fishing trips with Raymond and the others, about the students who will learn to wire a house and maybe build better lives than the ones they started with. I did not lose everything. I lost some things, yes, painful things, important things. But I found something more important in the wreckage. I found my self-respect again. And that is something no one can ever take from me. So now I sit here telling you this story, hoping maybe it helps someone out there who is going through something similar. Maybe you trusted someone who betrayed you. Maybe you feel like the walls are closing in and there is no way out. Maybe you are lying awake at night wondering how your life fell apart so completely. If that is you, I want you to know something. It is not over. As long as you are breathing, as long as you can put one foot in front of the other, there is hope. The fight may be hard. The recovery may be slow, but you are stronger than you think. Do not let anyone, not even the people you love most, convince you that you do not deserve respect. Do not let them make you feel small. Do not let them take what you have built and act like it belongs to them. Stand up. Find your voice. Get help if you need it. And fight for what is yours. I am 61 years old now. 3 years have passed since I got my villa back. The hibiscus garden is thriving. The sunsets are still beautiful. And I have found a kind of peace I was not sure I would ever feel again. Not the peace of having everything perfect. The peace of knowing I did not give up. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever trusted someone completely only to have them let you down? How did you find the strength to keep going? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. We learn from each other, and maybe your experience will help someone else who is struggling. If this story touched you, if it made you think or feel something real, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps more people find this channel and hear these stories. And if you have not already, subscribe so you do not miss the next one. We share stories here about real life, about struggle and survival, about the moments that test us and the strength we find to overcome. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. You never know who is going through a hard time and could use a reminder that they are not alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are tonight, you feel a little less alone. I hope you know that your story matters, that your struggles are valid, and that better days are possible. Take care of yourselves, and remember, no matter how dark things get, the sun always